Welcome to Libyth. Today we're reading the Tsurezuregusa, Essays in Idleness, written by Yoshida Kenkō somewhere around 1330, during one of the most unstable periods in Japanese history, by a man who had officially removed himself from that history and spent the rest of his life writing about it anyway. The basic situation is this. Kenko was a mid-ranking official at the imperial court in Kyoto. He was educated, aesthetically refined, socially connected, the kind of person who knew which poems to quote at which moments, who understood the hierarchies of taste and rank that structured courtly life, who could read the room in a culture where reading the room was one of the primary social arts. He didn't just inhabit that world. He was formed by it, shaped by its particular sense of what mattered, what was beautiful, what distinguished a person of genuine cultivation from one who merely performed cultivation. The difference mattered enormously. The Heian court tradition that Kenko was heir to, even in its diminished 14th century form, had spent centuries developing a set of aesthetic and social standards so precise, so demanding, and so genuinely internalized by its practitioners that to be educated in it was to have your entire perception reorganized. You didn't just learn what was beautiful. You learned how to see. And then he became a Buddhist monk. He withdrew. He retreated to a small dwelling, took vows, and in principle renounced the world he had inhabited. And then he picked up a brush and wrote 243 essays about that world, about its textures, its failures, its beauties, its vanities, its small perfect moments, and its large structural delusions. The book he produced is called the Tsurezuregusa, which translates roughly as Essays in Idleness. Tsurezure being something like restless idleness, the state of having nothing pressing to do and finding the mind moving anyway, reaching for things. The title is accurate. The book is what happens when a very cultivated, very honest mind sits with itself and follows where it goes, without a destination, without an argument to win, without an audience to perform for. It is one of the most influential texts in Japanese literary history. It shaped the aesthetic vocabulary of the tea ceremony tradition. It was read and reread by Edo period intellectuals as a guide to a certain kind of literary life. It was cited by writers across 7 centuries as a source for the specific combination of aesthetic refinement and philosophical seriousness that the Japanese tradition, at its best, produces. And on its surface, it is a book about doing nothing. About sitting by an inkstone in a small dwelling and letting thought go where it goes. About noticing things. About the moon, cherry blossoms, the arrangement of rooms, the proper way to receive guests, the failures of ambitious men, the beauty of worn objects, and the approach of death. The form has a name, Zuihitsu. Following the brush. It is the essay form native to Japanese literature. Not argument, not narrative, not confession exactly, but a kind of sustained noticing that takes its shape from the movement of attention rather than from any external logic imposed on top of it. The essays vary in length from a single sentence to several pages. Some are observations about nature. Some are memories of old court customs. Some are mini arguments about aesthetics or conduct, or the proper relationship to time. Some are just a moment, held up to the light and looked at. There is no chapter structure. There is no announced organizing principle. The 243 essays simply accumulate, and the accumulation produces something, a sensibility, a way of seeing, that is more coherent than any argument could make it. The other great Zuihitsu text is the Pillow Book, written by Sei Shonagon around the year 1000 at the Heian imperial court, 300 years before Kenko. At the height of the courtly culture he is nostalgic for. Sei Shonagon was a lady-in-waiting to Empress Teishi, a woman at the center of the most aesthetically sophisticated court in the world at that moment. And she wrote with the confidence of someone who belongs entirely to her world, sharp, social, occasionally cutting, delighted by the world in a way that is almost aggressive. Her lists of things that are elegant, things that are awkward, things that make her heart beat faster. They are the record of a person who is fully inside the culture she is describing, evaluating it from the inside with the precision of an insider. Kenko is different. He is writing from outside, or from the threshold, a man formed by the court tradition, nostalgic for a version of it that ended before he was born, observing the remnants of it from a position of deliberate withdrawal. He is quieter, more elegiac, more aware that the world he is observing is already passing. Together they define what the form can do. Sei Shonagon shows you the world from inside the feast. Kenko shows you the world from outside, after the feast has ended, in the quality of light that follows. The central tension of the Tsurezuregusa, the thing that makes it more than a collection of pleasant observations, is that Kenko's withdrawal from the world is never complete. He left. He is still watching. He renounced attachment and kept noticing what is beautiful. He accepted impermanence as doctrine and kept feeling the pull of the past. He argued, repeatedly and precisely, that ambition is a category error, and retained, clearly, the aesthetic and intellectual ambitions of a very cultivated man. The book is the record of that tension, held open for 243 essays, never resolved. And that irresolution is not a failure. It is the argument. The best book about impermanence was written by someone who could not stop paying attention to the things that were ending. That is either a contradiction, or it is the only honest position available. The Tsurezuregusa characteristically doesn't decide. It just keeps watching. One new book every week. At least we try.